Hi everyone, I'm Curt Frye, and in this movie, I'd like to show you how to do interesting things with random numbers and target values in Microsoft Excel. I have opened up my sample file, which is available through the link that you'll find below in the video description. And on the target values worksheet, I have a business scenario. And over on the left, you can see that I have 4 categories of books. So I have romance, science fiction, horror, and fantasy, and then also their total sales and the percentage of the overall total that each category's sales represents. My lowest selling category is horror, and I can see that the $30,000 that it brings in represents just under 14% of my total. And let's say that I have a goal of raising horror sales to 17%. So that means that if everything else stays equal, I will need to increase the value in cell B6. And I can try doing this by hand. For example, if I type in, say, 33,000, then 2 things will happen. First, the overall total will change. So I increased by $3,000, so the total will go to 218. And that also means that the percentages of the total for every category will change, not just for horror. So I press enter, and you can see all of those changes took place. Rather than do this all by hand, I can have Excel make the changes for me using a technique called Goal Seek. So to get that up and running, I'll go to the Data tab on the ribbon, and then in the Forecast group, I'll click What If Analysis, and then click Goal Seek. And the Goal Seek dialog box appears. So again, my goal is to get the value in C6 to be 17%. So I will set the cell of C6, which I'll click now, to the value of 0.17, which is the same as 17%, and you do need to type it that way. And we'll do that by changing the value in cell B6, which is total sales. So my goal is to set cell C6 to 0.17 by changing the sales value in B6. And hopefully Excel can either find a value or get me close. So I'll click OK. And we're at 16.99%. That's pretty good. I'll click OK. And I see that to get basically to 17%, it's $37,865.75. As you can see, Goal Seek is terrific. It'll save you a lot of work in finding a target value. And even though it doesn't come up very often in business analysis, you'll be glad that you know how to use it when it does. Okay, now I want to talk about generating random numbers, and there are a bunch of different ways that we'll do that. So I'll click the Random Numbers Sheet tab, and you can see here that I have a number of labels for different types of random number generation. I'll start by generating random decimal numbers, and if you've worked with random numbers in Excel before, you've probably used what I'm about to show you. So in A4, I'll type equal, and then the function that you use to generate a random decimal number between 0 and 1 is just RAND. And then I will type open and close parentheses and enter, and I get a random decimal value. And I'll just go ahead and click cell A4 and drag its fill handle down to copy the formula so we get a range of values. So I'll go to cell A13, and there they are. And every time the worksheet is recalculated, this function will update because RAND is what's called a volatile function. So if I press F9, then I get a new set of values. If you want random integers within a range, then you can use the rand between function. So I'll start in cell D4, and I'll type equal, and the function is rand between. And here I need to identify the bottom value and the top value, and they must be positive. That means 1 or greater. So let's say that I have a number of values from 1 to 50. So rand between, and then in parentheses 1, 50, and enter. There's the first value. And I'll copy down to cell D13, and there's a new set. And it just happened this time that I have a duplicate value. So I have 45 twice. That won't happen every time, but I point it out because I'll show you an interesting way that a colleague of mine created to generate unique random numbers within a range. Before I get to that, I want to show you how to create or calculate a random order based on a set of values that you generate. So let's say that I have the values 1 through 10 in F4 through F13. So I'll type a 1, then a 2, and then I'll just go ahead and copy down all the way down to 10. And let's say that I want to reorder all of these numbers randomly. To do that, I can use the rand function that I showed you at the start of the segment. So I will select cells G4 through G13, and then I'll type equal rand, R-A-N-D, and then left and right parentheses with nothing in between, and Control Enter to enter the formula into every cell at the same time. So there I get my values. And if you ever get two rand values that are exactly the same, well, go out and buy yourself a lottery ticket because it's very unlikely to happen. Now what I can do is identify the order of these values as they are calculated. So I'll do that by selecting H4 through H13, then equal, and then we'll use the rank function. And I don't need to worry about, and I'll use the first one that's offered, rank.average. And the number that I am comparing will be the value in G4. And that will be part of the reference range, so a comma, of G4 to G13. So I want to know where the value in G4 falls within the range of G4 through G13. I do need to make the references for the range absolute, so I will click within G4 and press F4, and then within G13 and press F4 on Windows. So what this does is it will change the reference to G4, making it relative as we're copying it down, and then G4 to G13 will stay the same. So I will type a right parentheses to close it out, then Control Enter, and we get the unique ordering of the values 1 through 10 here. And of course, these could be anything. I just put in 1 through 10 to make it easier to read. And you can see here that I have a unique ordering based on the randomly generated values in column G. Now that I have those values, I don't want to change them. So with H4 through H13 selected, I'll press Control-C to copy, and then Control-Shift-V to paste in the values. And you can see here that I no longer have my formulas. Instead, I just have the numbers that I had before. Finally, I want to show you this incredibly useful and honestly ingenious formula that David Bruns of exceljet.net created. And that is to generate a list of unique random numbers from a larger set. So for example, if you want to get 10 unique random numbers from the integers 1 through 20, then you can do that using David's formula. And I encourage you to go to his site so you can get better insights into how it works, but I'll share it with you here, and I thank him for his permission to do so. So I'll type equal and index, and then you're going to sort by a sequence. And sequence is a way of entering in a series of values based on a rule that you create. And again, I won't go into details here because frankly, there's a lot, but it's incredibly useful. So we're creating a sequence of numbers from 1 through 20, and we're going step of 1. So all the numbers will be included. Then a comma. Then we're going to generate a 20-item random array. So rand array 20, and then 2 right parentheses, then a comma, and then sequence again, and 10. That's because we want 10 numbers as our output, and then right parentheses and right parentheses. And I have a black right parentheses at the end, and I have a black right parentheses at the start, so it looks like everything is balanced. So I'll go ahead and press enter, and you can see that you get a list of 10 unique random values from 1 to 20. And if I press F9 to recalculate, we get a different set. And no matter how many times we do it, we will not get any repeats within the same list. So thank you again, David. This is an incredible technique, and I encourage everyone watching this video to go to David's site, following the link that is in the video description, so you can find out exactly how he did it and create your own solutions. Thanks again. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you like it and also subscribe to my channel.